Two words should sum it up pretty well. Stannard rock.
Stannard rock fishing's awesome. It's like a 5-mile reef, 50 miles offshore, and it's so good because it's unpressured water.
9 million acres of forest, 1,700 miles of continuous shoreline, 4,300 lakes, 12,000 miles of streams, more than 300 waterfalls, 15 counties, 2 time zones, and 1 area code. Welcome to the Upper Peninsula. Welcome to 906 Outdoors. My day started at 12:15 a.m. After some coffee, breakfast, and a 2-hour drive, I was on the dock in Marquette with hooked up charters. I hopped on board the 28-foot Grady White, called the Meat Wagon, along with Captain Pat Magdaleno, his dad and nephew. It's Pat's boat. He also makes the custom fishing rods we'll be using, and it's he who will deliver us to the promised land. 46 miles and an hour and a half later, we were there.
A little bit of whitefish belly for cut bait.
If you're in California, this is the Rock. At one time, home to bad men. In the UP, this is the Rock. Home to big fish.
Stannard rock fishing's awesome. It's like a 5-mile reef, 50 miles offshore, and it's so good because it's unpressured water. More and more boats are coming out every year, but still it's a long ride, so you have to have the right boat to make it. So it's definitely less pressured, so you can jig fish them out here. There's just a lot more fish than inshore. It's weird, we're drifting this way, but the current is going that way too. So we just got out 50 miles from Marquette at Stannard Rock. First drop, and we got hooked up. Fishing, there he is right there. Some jigs with a little bit of cut bait on them. Smaller fish there. Just leave them right in the water. Not a bad first fish of the morning. Little lead jig. Hooked up. Not a bad fish to start the day. People travel all over the country to come out here and fish, and I've had guys all over the country this year just to come out here, and they say it's the loneliest place on earth, the lighthouse here. And I see one other boat out here today, and the fishing's amazing though. It's nothing to catch 20-pounders consistently and occasional 30. It's a blast.
Today's show is brought to you in part by Rapid River Knife Works, home of Michigan's largest custom knife factory showroom.
He was alright.
That current is crazy. It's going like under the boat.
And then the lure's going under the boat, yeah.
Super strong out of the east.
It was weirding me out too.
The current's so bad. Like we're drifting that way, and whoa, there's one. I was reeling in my spoon. It's another nice one. I was actually reeling it in super fast to get it out of the way. It got hit.
He doesn't want to come up.
on the screen how he followed the bait up 20 feet below the surface and it just shot right back down on the bottom. Give me some line. Try not to pull these big fish out of the water for too long. Just snap a quick picture and lift, don't reel anymore. Double on big ones. Okay, hold on. So try to leave these fish in the water for as long as we can, then just take them out for the picture. There's a probably 18, 20 pound lake trout. Got a double right away. Got my nephew and my dad out here fishing today.
Yeah, it's a nice one.
I'm enjoying being able to fish actually. Usually I'm just taking people out, but I get to fish today. Got that one on a watermelon casting spoon from Moonshine. They work really good. That fish followed it up from the bottom and hit about 20 feet below the surface. I just started my charter business last year, and I've been fishing the big lake for about 10 years, and I love it, and just figured after a while of doing it, I just decided to might as well get paid to do it. And the charter fishing out of Marquette, it's pretty big, pretty popular. So I mean, this year's been super busy for me, and most of the guys want to come out to Stannard Rock and jig these big lake trout, and it's one of my favorite things to do. I came out here a few years ago for the first time and just had a blast. And I'm not a huge fan on trolling for lake trout. Sometimes it's nice to do out here just to find structure and find fish, but jigging them is just super fun because you're holding the rod, you feel the bite, and from hook set to the net, you can, fight the fish, and I just love it. It's a long haul though. Coming out here, it's about 50 miles from the marina where we fish, and it's stressful at times with the weather, and anyone knows that when you're running a boat a lot, there's always issues with the weather or motors or however, and that just comes with it. But you just got to be extra cautious out here, and definitely watch the weather and watch the clouds and be super careful. Jig popped right out. Hold on.
How big is that?
12, 14 pounds. See the lamprey mark on them? These fish get so old, almost all the bigger fish have marks on them. So probably 12 to 15-year-old fish here. So, get that net out of the way. He's ready to go. See, if you take care of them, they take off like that, and that's good. You don't want to kill these fish, they're just too old. You want to eat the, I like the 4 to 6 pounders. It's perfect eating. Those big old ones don't taste very good anyway. A lot of people have been booking to come out to Stannard Rock just because it's world-class fishing. I mean, 80% of my trips have been out to the rock, and a lot of times, you know, the weather prevents me from coming out here, so we'll stick around close. The weather's not as bad inshore. Troll for lake trout and an occasional salmon, 4 to 6 hours, 8 hours, whatever you want. Perfect eater, about a 4-pounder. Towards the fall, like this time of year, August, September, the nearshore fishing gets super good.
It's time for a 906 Outdoors Wild Game Break. Today's Wild Game Break is brought to you by Cooking Wild Seasonings. Make it fresh, make it yours. Find out more at cookingwildseasonings.com. So, you've got your Cooking Wild fish batter and you're ready to do a fish fry. Beer or water? Well, both will work. The reason we like beer? Carbonation. Carbonation is one of the biggest factors in giving you a coating that is thin and light rather than thick and greasy. That said, you could also use non-alcoholic beer or seltzer water to get the same results. And ice cold beer will make colder batter. The shock of the cold batter when it hits the hot oil will help make it nice and crispy. 906 Outdoors is brought to you by Cooking Wild Seasonings. Make it fresh, make it yours.
Usually what we jig with out here is 2 to 4 ounce jig. You can have hair on it or not. I usually tip it with a Mr. Twister and then a little chunk of cut bait. You can use sucker, whitefish belly. White's usually a pretty hot color. I usually use anywhere from a 1 to 4 ounce jig. There's a casting spoon bite that's pretty good out here as well. Moonshine, the glow, I think it's a 3/4 ounce. Usually just cast it out in the shallows, or if I'm fishing deep, I'll just cast it out and let it sink for 3 to 5 minutes and reel it in slow, and usually you can get them that way, the suspended fish.
Spoon?
Yeah. I'm using a braid 20-pound main line, and then I'll tie anywhere from a 12 to 17-pound leader, depending on the clarity of the water and
Double.
you know how deep we're fishing and what kind of jigs we're using. I mean, if I'm using really big stuff, I'll even up it to 20-pound test. Strong. But more or less when in the mornings when there's less light out. When the sun comes out, the water gets super clear. I'll sometimes run a 12-pound leader if I can't get them to bite. Most guys like to use the spinning reels out here. I like the bait caster because they're high speed. On this reel, the one crank is 40 inches. So when you're fishing 200 feet, that's nice. Always the mags custom rods. I got all mags on the boat, and it's nice because I can make the rod and come out here and test one and make it exactly how I want it. This is probably my favorite rod all around. I could cast spoons with it. It's a medium heavy. It's a 8-foot. I could jig 2 to 4 ounce jigs with it, no problem. 200 feet of water. So yeah, it's always nice to build a rod and catch giant fish on it. Something that you made. It's fun though when you tie into a 20-30 pound fish on just stand up spinning tackle, casting tackle. I forgot what it was like to reel them in. I've been chartering out here, so I haven't been able to actually fish. So it feels good. So this rod, the eyes spiral around the blank and turn on 180 degree. It's designed for deep water jigging and bait caster reels. You get more torque out of your blank and you get less rod twist. And at first I was like, I don't know, and then I tried one and I'll never build another rod the same. It just feels so much better. I've fished the same blank with a spinning reel and then a spiral wrap, and you just can tell a huge difference on the torque of the blank you're getting, and you just get a lot more out of your rod blank this way. I do it for trolling rods, casting rods, deep water jigging rods, anything with a bait caster or conventional reel. I'll spiral wrap the eyes. A lot of times the bigger ones, they'll have visitors with them. When you bring them up, a lot of times you'll see other fish. Sometimes it's tough bite, and you know, I've had to troll out here just to find a nice pot of fish, and then we stop and jig them. There he is. It's fishing. It's not like you're reeling fish every cast, but it's 9 times out of 10, it's really good fishing. The fishing this year's been pretty good. The fish are really big this year, healthy, a lot of bait fish. Even the inshore fish are good size, good numbers too. Always towards the fall, it just gets better and better.
You angry?
20-pounder, close. Nice,
Got a little mark there,
pretty fish. He fought super good. He's just got huge fins on him. This one's clean, clean fish. We can eat that one. Nice little fish. Usually if I'll keep them, I'll cut the gills and bleed them out. Bunch of them. Look at that. Oh my god. There's 3 probably in the 30-pound range. Double up on some big ones. You got one, huh?
No, not. Up charters, got us hooked up all morning.
Another nice double. Nice double. Get him back.
Today's show is brought to you in part by Rapid River Knife Works, home of Michigan's largest custom knife factory showroom.
We're going for a big one now. It's a 7 or 8 inch Bondi bait. 20-pounder's not cutting it no more. Can't really even move them off bottom. This is the one. Can't even budge him. Wow. And back to the bottom. Got a tight drag on him too. She's still pulling. He's over 100 down. I can gain about 10 feet on him and then he goes right back down to the bottom. Putting some heat on him too, and he just nope, right back to the bottom. And now gain a little bit, but then it's a big fish. That's why it's nice to have the right gear for when you do hook a 40-50 pound fish. You're prepared for it. You might not hook one in 5-10 years, but when you do, it's nice to have something that can handle 40 to 50 pound fish, and that's what this rod is meant for, bigger fish. Got a bigger reel on there. Still have good action on it, but it's got, you can see where the backbone is on it. It's still got a lot more. You just running a 20-pound leader and I'm putting some heat on them, so I don't want to break it. And I haven't even budged this fish off the bottom yet. So always want to keep good pressure on them because you're using 2 to 4 ounce jigs. When they head thrash, that jig is moving all over. So if there's any slack, they could throw it out. There he is, oh yeah, he's a big one. No, don't just leave him out. I thought he was bigger, but that's still a mid-20s fish. There's a big lake trout. It's a 30-year-old fish, by mid-20s. Good. That's a pretty clean fish too. It's crazy to think this fish is 30, 35 years old.
As old as you.
Feel free to join us on Facebook or visit us at 906outdoors.com. Thanks for watching, and we invite you to join us next week for another adventure right here on 906 Outdoors.